Melanie Joly soft launching a potential bid at the Liberal leadership through the New York Times, which is hilarious because all you've heard from the Liberals is don't bring American style politics north of the border. And here we are with going to the New York Times to soft launch this, saying that tapped by Trudeau to steer foreign affairs, she's now his possible successor. From your perspective, what is your thoughts on this whole Melanie Joly situation? Let me know.
First and foremost, as much as I do not like to play into this sort of discussion in terms of politics, because we really don't know, and I don't like to make speculation or assumptions, and there's a lot of things that due to the very high emotional contagion that politics and angers and frustrations carry, a lot of people like to run with this one. They call Joly Trudeau's mistress. I don't know if that's true. I'm certainly not going to be somebody to go and break into that one, but for the sake of comedy purposes only, I mean, the title of this, the headline of this article was iconic. Tapped by Trudeau. And that's all that I'll say about that one detail. And again, I don't like those kinds of jokes or commentary, but I did think that that was very funny. Overall, though, you know, everything about this is so bizarre. The New York Times, first and foremost, is absolutely a deep state CIA operative. There have been so many books written about that. There have been so many things published by them that have absolutely swayed elections, that have swayed wars. The New York Times has been around for a really long time. And if you haven't, you should definitely look into how it got started, who funds it, and some of the insane sources that they get their information from. Like, it is absolutely a government agency of sorts, kind of lurking in the shadows. I think the New York Times in general is just like one of the least credible, most insane versions of propaganda heard of in terms of media, which is really quite a damn shame, because if you were a broadcaster or a journalist going to school, people would always say, oh, look up to the CNN and the New York Times. And then you get older and you realize, I'm being indoctrinated. So the fact alone that this is even on the New York Times is so bizarre to me. And to me, it just makes me trust the Liberal Party that much less, if I can be honest. Again, conspiracy theory, oops. But it's like, New York Times, why are you doing an op-ed about Melanie Joly? Why? Like, that's so weird to me. We have all of this insane stuff going on with Trump, and even for Trudeau's cabinet. For them to think that it was a good idea to run this article right now, what are you doing? Like, that's so crazy to me, the fact that she did that, and I don't know if he had knowledge of it prior. Everything about it just screams red flag. I don't trust it. I don't like it. However, there were a lot of other things in this that I thought were incredibly telling. If you kind of read in between the lines, think about it with a little bit of common sense as well. I copy and pasted some of it just so I wouldn't forget. So I'll quote a little bit of it here.
Come on.
But so as an example, inside of this op-ed, Joly had said that she refused the position of doing foreign policy. Why? Because she had no foreign policy experience. It says, and I quote, she lacked foreign policy experience. And she also didn't want to be traveling because at the time she was trying to have a child through IVF, which again, to what you had said earlier, was very interesting that Justin Trudeau says, hey, you should do this. She says, no, I have no experience. That's respectable. And he says, no, but you should really do this. And she says, no, I'm trying to have a baby. And then here's where the narcissism plays in. All of a sudden he goes, man, could you imagine what it would be like if you were on that stage with your pregnant belly? It would signal to the world that women have babies. Like, what? And she's like, oh my gosh, wait a second. So now not only can I have a baby, but I can also be photographed on the world stage as having a baby. Whoa. Okay. I'm sold. That's what sold you? Are you kidding? Like, ew, gross. You're the last person in the world I would want to have in politics because of that. And that was really a huge premise of this entire op-ed as well, is the fact that there were so many things pointing to the fact that she was trying to have a child. Oh, Trudeau's so great and nice. I have no experience, but I was going to be the first woman out of whatever Trudeau's team at the time who had a baby. Like, bro, people have babies all the time. That's what Instagram is for. You can show off your pictures there. Like, if you have no experience, you shouldn't be taking the job, for first and foremost.
I think Karina Gold have something to say about that too.
Yes. And then on top of that, though, and here's where my inner woman comes out slightly,
Oh,
is the fact that like, okay, so Melanie Joly is having a really hard time having a baby. Obviously, she's going through IVF. So she's in that process with her husband. She ends up getting pregnant. This is prior to when she actually took the job, but she had already accepted it, to my knowledge, at that point in time. And she ends up having a miscarriage. Absolutely devastating, horrifying, especially when you really want to have a baby. That is so unbelievably sad. And I may not love Jolie, but I do think she's very pretty. And for that, I will always be jealous. But I absolutely can show a lot of compassion towards her there. I know so many people who have been through that, and I wouldn't wish that on anyone. But you go and have a miscarriage, and here she is now. She's still trying to have a baby. I'm sorry. You think your stress levels are going to be so okay, and everything in your life is going to be so great. It's going to be, your body is going to be the perfect temple for having a baby when you are working as the foreign defense minister under Justin Trudeau's regime. Like, everything about that screams, if you're trying to have a baby, that's probably not the right job for you. That is such an intense environment. There is so much travel. There's so much instability, late hours, early mornings, chaos and stress that you're dealing with all the time. If you're trying to have a baby and you really want to have a baby, like, yeah, sure, girl, get your money, but also that's a crazy high stress position for you to be in. And I don't understand why you would have accepted that. Oh, wait, it's because I'm actually probably a narcissist. And Justin Trudeau, who I met his brother at a party or something. I think that's what it said, is that they met randomly at a party or something, which is how she ended up meeting Trudeau. He told me that I could be this and I could be pregnant while on stage. I could be pregnant. Do you say, oh, you could be pregnant in the House of Commons? That sounds awful. That is not worth the pictures. Let me tell you.
sign me up.
So as a whole, this whole op-ed, very odd to me. Again, zero experience. To open this up by saying I have no experience whatsoever. Yeah. That's what a terrible, you are off to a bad start for sure. And I don't know, everything about it, I just think is really, it's really bizarre. And also too, she clearly hasn't done that great of a job. Look at the incident that happened with India recently. Look at the blame, Trudeau goes up on stage saying, we know that they were involved in the murder of this Khalistani terrorist separatist, I forget what his name is, but and to go up on stage and say all of that, only for the RCMP and Indian intelligence to come back and say there was actually no evidence whatsoever. I don't know why they said that. Like, the RCMP came out 2 weeks ago saying that they actually had no evidence at all. So why would you go up on stage and do that? What are you trying to do to our country before, like, why are you're on your way out. So what are you doing here? And the fact that they would say, oh, she's going to be his successor. That's a no from me, dog. I don't even want her to be. I want her to go home and have a baby. That's what I want for her. I want her to get away from that crazy spotlight lifestyle and get some 8 hours of sleep every night, have breakfast at a normal time, and go and have a baby. That's what I want for her. Like,